Okay, so imagine this. You build this huge, beautiful storefront. You stock it with everything your customers could possibly want, but you completely forget to build a front door. You know, online, this happens all the time. A website can be massive, have hundreds of pages, and still be totally invisible to the very people trying to find it. So, how do you build that front door? Let's dive in and figure it out.
This really is the million-dollar question for so many businesses, isn't it? You've put in the time, you've spent the money, you've got pages for every single service you offer, but when you go look at your analytics, it's just crickets. It's an incredibly common and, frankly, super frustrating problem. So how can a website be so big, yet so invisible?
Let's look at a real-world example here. This is from an SEO audit for a local law firm. And this was not some tiny little brochure website. No. It had this many pages indexed by Google, 1,046. I mean, with a site that big, you'd think it'd be impossible to miss, right?
Well, you'd be wrong. Despite its massive size, the firm was really struggling. Potential clients in their own city searching for the exact legal services they offer were just not finding the website at all. All that content, all that work was basically just lost out there in the digital void. So let's put this website on the examination table, shall we? We're going to uncover the hidden flaws in its blueprint, that fundamental structure that search engines absolutely need to understand what it is you actually do. The thing is, the problem wasn't what you could see on the surface. The site looked great, totally professional. The real issue was its architecture, its blueprint. Think of your website like a giant library. Google is the librarian, and a potential customer comes in asking for a specific section. Well, if your library has no signs, no sections, and zero clear organization, that librarian can't help.
And this brings us to a really crucial concept: Google Business Profile, or GBP, categories. These are like the big, giant, can't-miss signs in your library. They're what tell Google, hey, this whole section is about legal services, or this section over here is for a trial attorney. It is the most basic, fundamental way Google starts to figure out what you're all about.
And the audit, well, it just zeroed right in on the core of the problem. And it all came down to this number: 4. The firm was missing 4 of these critical library sections. So yeah, it had hundreds of individual books, all those service pages, but it had no main shelves to organize them on. And that made the whole structure a confusing mess for Google.
And this right here just illustrates the problem perfectly. The website was completely missing dedicated landing pages for these 4 essential categories: law firm, attorney, legal services, and trial attorney. Without these pages to act as hubs, Google just had no clear way to group the firm's 1,000 other pages and really understand the full scope of their practice. But the confusion didn't stop there. The front door of the library, the homepage, it also had a big problem. Its main sign, what we call the title tag, was just way too vague. It wasn't telling visitors or Google what kind of law firm this was or even where it was located. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's night and day. Before, the title was just the firm's name. That tells Google and a potential customer almost nothing. But the after version, it's crystal clear. Personal injury attorney in a specific city, plus what makes them special. Instantly, both a person and a search engine know exactly what this website is all about. Okay, so the diagnosis is clear. We've got a confusing blueprint and a really weak front door. But the good news is, the fix is a pretty straightforward action plan that builds a clear path right back to visibility. The recovery plan was basically a 4-step process. It meant creating those missing category pages, optimizing the home page, and getting all the page titles standardized. But the most critical step, the one that really reorganizes the entire library, was building what's called a clear silo structure with internal links.
Right. Let's focus on that third step for a minute, because it's probably the most powerful concept here. We're talking about building a silo structure. This is the secret sauce to turning a messy pile of pages into a perfectly organized library that Google absolutely loves to navigate.
So before, the structure was completely flat. All the pages were basically just in one long, disorganized list. It was like dumping all the books on the library floor. You've got a page about car accidents in one city right next to a page about wrongful death in another. There's just no hierarchy, no logic to it at all.
Now, look at the after. This is a silo. See how it works? You go from the homepage to a clear category, like trial attorney, and then tucked right underneath that category, you find all the relevant services, like car, truck, and motorcycle accidents. Everything is just logically nested. This clear path helps Google understand how all these pages relate to each other, and it passes authority down from the top. It's so clean.
So, we've gone from a confusing mess to a coherent blueprint. But why does this actually work? What's the real impact of making these kinds of foundational changes?
This breakdown really shows a simple truth, doesn't it? Every single fix, from adding category pages to optimizing the titles, it provides this parallel benefit. It gives Google a logical path to follow, and it gives the customer an intuitive way to navigate. What works for one works for the other. It's a total win-win. And that brings us to the most crucial point of all. This is not about trying to trick some algorithm. A clear, logical structure that is easy for a human being to navigate is the exact same structure that is easy for Google to understand and rank. They are one and the same. You build for your user, and you automatically build for the search engine. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about for your own business. Take a hard, honest look at your website. Is its blueprint a clear, logical guide that leads both your customers and the search engines exactly where they need to go? Or is it a confusing maze hiding your business in plain sight?